Unconventional.
You're such a fool,
That's
honestly.
what we are.
That's so not the vibe. Saw this tweet from a guy called Ben Crump, and he's a civil rights attorney, and he represented George Floyd and Breonna Taylor's families. The Olympics will now ban any athletes who wear a Black Lives Matter shirt, kneel during the national anthem, or raises a fist to oppose racism. This sends the wrong in capitals message about basic human rights, and I urge the Olympic Committee to reverse this decision. And I responded and I was like, because athletes are seen as just a commodity. We are not even paid to compete at the Olympics. It's a joke. But they know we love what we do so much, the dream. They can use that to rob us of what should be our basic human rights. And I really believe that. Athletes and everyone was hoping they would drop this Rule 50, right? So that athletes could basically express themselves how they want in their moment. Their moment. It's their moment. They literally worked, blood, sweat, tears, sacrifice. Like, it's their moment.
I want to read what Rule 50 is. Rule 50 of the Olympic Charter provides a framework to protect the neutrality of sport and the Olympic Games. In addition to prohibiting commercial installations and advertising signs, it states that no kind of demonstration or political, religious, or racial propaganda is permitted in any Olympic sites, venues, or other areas.
What are the other areas?
Well, to me, I feel like that just means Tokyo. The big issue here is that they targeted Black Lives Matter and this whole movement. Now, if I was to hear Black Lives Matter, do I hear a political statement? I don't.
Me neither. I think it's just that we're at this pinnacle where we're actually speaking out about it and the conversation has started to happen. But there needs to be free speech. Not free speech that's going to be hate crimes or hate speech, but this isn't. This is like, I'm Black and my life matters, and it doesn't feel like it matters right now. I don't feel like my life is equal to Mr. White Man or white woman over there. Athletes go through this too. I mean, it's blatant.
When you're talking about the Olympics and who you're mainly seeing on the podium, the athletes you see that are thriving most of the time, the stars, the majority of the stars of this product. Yes, they're Black. Yeah. So just totally disregarding that because of the fact that, well, the majority of athletes are against this, whatever bullshit surveys they're going off of. As far as, the majority of athletes not feeling the same plight and understanding, cool, say what you want. But most businesses and organizations understand where the majority of the value of their assets lie. Now, if we look at most of the stars, and especially in track and field, mainly they're Black. How do you just totally disregard the fact that they do have concerns about their livelihood, their family's livelihood, their friends' livelihood, some lost loved ones they had, and they want to say something about it. They want to pay tribute to it. Now, in the definition I gave, they said something about racial propaganda. Would this be considered racial propaganda? Propaganda, if we define it, information, especially of biased or misleading nature, used to promote a political cause or point of view. Is this whole Black Lives Matter movement misleading? I don't even want to say biased, because how could it be biased? We're seeing everything happen right before our eyes. So
but it's biased because Black people are saying it. But also now white people are realizing that
white people are seeing it too. So biased, you can't align that with what this is. Misleading would basically be saying that we're lying, used to promote a political cause or point of view. I really don't find this political. Do you find this political?
Well, they're going to say it's political because of how it's been politicized. But the problem is, whether you politicize something doesn't necessarily mean it's political. It's people's lives.
It's obviously bad for business.
This is what it comes down to.
In a lot of corporations, as we've seen the shift, once George Floyd died, it was bad for business not to acknowledge it. It was bad for business not to broaden the cultures of your staff. But in a situation now, we don't know what's going on behind closed doors as far as, how the business structure of the IOC works. We don't know, but we do know that this in particular is bad for business, obviously, because if it was good for business, they'd make it work. As far as it being right, when it comes to business, a lot of people don't really care about that because business is business, and the IOC, like I mentioned before, is the best business model that's laid out in any sporting form today.
They make all this money, and yet athletes see none of that. We do it for free.
Yeah, if you win the Olympics, you get nothing. I mean, obviously, you get some sponsorships.
No,
potentially,
but that's
not all the time.
But that's separate to the Olympic organisation. You could get zero for going. Let's say you haven't got a sponsor, which majority of the athletes do not have a shoe contract that go to the Olympics. You go to the Olympics and you don't have a sponsor. What money are you making? Nothing.
Yeah, so while they're talking about the purest form of sport in the Olympics, it's actually
all about
the most powerful business model in all of sports, because the athletes are actual commodities that are getting nothing.
Zero.
They're part of the larger infrastructure of the business plan to generate some money.
They use us. We're valuable to them.
And it has very cooperative specimens. They just do what they're supposed to do. They go compete and leave. And they're upholding that by implementing these rules where athletes are going to show a human side by any means. But that's not what they're there for. They're there to compete, fill their obligations as this part of the larger infrastructure. Without the athletes, there is no Olympics. But in some way, there's been this mind trick to where the athletes are depending on the Olympics for their dream and for their lives, really. I mean, if I reflect to myself, all I thought about was the Olympics. All I thought about was being on the podium. It was the end all be all. That is where I want to go, what I want to do, who I want to be. And they're using it against the athletes.
Big time. The lengths athletes go to make the Olympic Games, like what you put yourself through. And, everyone knows that's why it's like a massive thing. It's every 4 years, so you only get one shot. Probably if they made it more regular, they wouldn't be able to have such a stranglehold on the athletes, right? Mm-hmm. Because it's like every 4 years, so you could probably only got a couple of opportunities to achieve that dream of winning the medal, which, come on, everyone knows how many people actually win medals. Like, we as athletes in our brain go out every day with that on our mind.
The gold medal, not even like
the silver or the bronze. Like, let's go and I'm going out in the snow. My toes are gonna fall off. In my spikes, it's like -3, and I'm running like 300 reps, and my lungs are burning. I feel like I'm gonna die, but in my head, I'm like, that Olympic gold medal. I've just got to do this one more run. And it was towards the end of my career, I started actually asking the question: why am I doing this? What is the Olympics? Like, really? I feel like we're all in this little bubble, track and field athletes, right? Or not even just track and field athletes, Olympians, that the Olympics is this like huge pinnacle of your career where you're going to go there. And if you just win that gold medal, your whole life is going to change, and you're going to feel this fulfillment that that you've got this lack inside, you've got this emptiness. And that as soon as you win that, everything's going to change, and you're going to become this whole person, this full rounded human being that's going to skip off into the sunset and live happily ever after.
That's not true. I know a few Olympic champions that don't even care about their medal anymore. I mean, obviously the moment was amazing.
Mm-hmm. But the problem with the moment is it might live up to expectations, for some athletes, but then, and for some athletes, it doesn't even live up to the expectation of what they thought that it was going to be. But the moment passes, and then very soon after you retire, and then you basically base the rest of your whole entire life off of that moment, and you're done. Like, imagine now, anything you want to do from that point on in your life, you're done for. It's just not, you can't. And therefore, that's why it's so difficult a lot of the time, even if you haven't won the Olympic gold medal, right? To compete in a stadium with 90,000 people and, to experience that massive high, and then you retire and it's like, how am I ever going to fulfill that? It's this kind of trance that I think we're all in as athletes, that the Olympics are going to fulfill us. Like you said, I've known athletes that are literally suicidal after they retire. I think it's very well documented. There's an athlete here, Kelly Holmes. She wrote a book about it. She won 2 gold medals at Athens in the 800 and 1500. And I remember it was just, this massive moment, for British sport and for everyone at home. And she wrote a book, and in her book, she said something along the lines of, she went back to her room, nothing changed. Her room was the same. She was the same. And, she spoke about the massive drop down from it. that this is literally right after. And, you know, she self-harmed. You know, I don't know what she was going through, but imagine you go to those lengths to win these medals, and then that's the experience you get after. And, you know, I know that other athletes have gone through that. They win that medal, they do really well, and then they can't, their life, normal reality can't live up to it. And therefore, everything just seems worse.
Athletes don't even think about life outside of sport. They don't think about who they are, their demons, what they believe. Life, real life.
No.
Because sport is our life. Now it seems to be, there seems to be a shift.
Now they're starting to a little bit. But from our generation, definitely no.
No. So in your examples, these people have given everything to their sport and kind of lost themselves. And now people are starting to realize, you know what, I actually have an opinion. I actually have beliefs. I actually have things I want to stand up for. I actually have people I want to pay tribute to and respect. But it's like there's these old school rules that are still trying to inhibit that. Yo, medals are just metal, man.
Yeah.
Actually, I was just reading up earlier what the actual medals are made of. According to the International Olympic Committee guidelines, silver medals must contain a minimum of 92.5% silver, although Tokyo's 2020 medals will be made of pure silver. But the gold medals are in fact... I want to know about gold. The gold medals are in fact also made largely from silver.
Oh, of course.
So they must each be plated with at least 6 grams of gold. So the gold medal is plated with gold, but basically has the same amount of silver as the silver medal. The bronze is made of copper and zinc. All of the metals has been stripped from donated cell phones and other electronics.
Oh, Lord. That's
so
what we're
really,
killing ourselves for.
The medal's
so
about the
really
moment. It's about the moment on the podium.
So basically, you're getting a silver medal if you win a gold.
Yeah, but it's just what it symbolizes. But what does it symbolize?
It symbolizes that, again, we're a commodity that only is of value to them, that they can basically rape and pillage for what our talent and all of our sacrifice, and then they don't even give you a gold medal. You don't even get a real gold medal, and they don't give you any money for competing at the Olympics. The words that are approved by the IOC, right, that they're going to allow, like, imagine this. We're not going to allow Black Lives Matter, but we're going to allow words like peace, respect, solidarity, inclusion, equality. So they support these words, right? The word that I just laugh, solidarity, unity or agreement of feeling or action, especially among individuals with a common interest, mutual support within a group. So the IOC are for this word of solidarity, but it does not feel like they're showing solidarity with the black athletes that also are a massive part of the Olympic movement by putting in place this ban. Because like you said, they're specifically putting in place the ban on black athletes protesting and the whole Black Lives Matter movement.
Do you think less people would watch the games if they allowed this movement?
No.
Do you think less sponsors would want to get involved?
No.
Because I can't put my finger on why you wouldn't allow this, especially in the climate we're in, and especially considering the stars that are going to be on camera, you know, where they're coming from.
Because the IOC... I think there's like 16 people, and none of them are black. Thomas Bach, who's the IOC president, he's a white guy. He lives in like Switzerland or Zurich, somewhere like that. I mean, the whole entire committee who make decisions on whether or not this should be allowed or not, none of them are black. So like I was saying earlier, whether or not it's racist or whether or not it's just like, well, I don't really identify with it, so we just want to keep it about sport. We don't really want this kind of taken away from because they have no clue. It's like, stop for a minute and actually show some solidarity with your athletes that you talk about. Like, that word is like a thing that the Olympic movement's supposed to represent, but it doesn't in this case. And this is what's the joke of it. A lot of this stuff all started with Colin Kaepernick, who knelt at the national anthem, right? He just didn't feel like that national anthem represented what his experience was, right? So he's like, I'm not really standing for this. He didn't believe in what the national anthem stood for him. So that's why he decided he's going to kneel. He got sidelined. He wasn't allowed to play.
Some say it ended his career.
Yeah. Now, fast forward to, I think it was last year, after all of the stuff and the Black Lives Matter stuff that came up, the NFL, one of the head people at NFL came out and said that they apologize and it was wrong. They should have allowed him to protest. Then now you see all these, scenes around the world where baseball games, they're allowing them to protest. Even at NASCAR, when they had those Confederate flags, they're like, yeah, we're banning the Confederate flags because that shows that obviously it's
biased,
yeah,
misleading.
Right, misleading.
Yes.
So to me, you could call it a protest, but I'm just like, this is me also speaking about my life and what matters to me. My people's lives matter to me, and I don't feel like we are being treated fairly equally, and it's, we're not getting the justice that we deserve. I don't call it a political protest. If I was going to do that, that would not be a political protest to me. It'd be me speaking about my experience just as I speak about any other parts of my life and my experience.
I feel like the Olympics has kind of painted this picture of being the savior to a lot of these athletes who have been through hard times, but saving how? We already mentioned the athletes aren't getting any money. And now if you take away their freedom of expression, I mean, that would actually have a positive impact on some of these athletes who have had and grew up in hard times. The fact that they were able to get to a point where they could actually express to the world some issues that they had growing up that they want to rectify for the next generation or for the future of their race or the future of their country. That would be something that would be rewarding, that the Olympics can say, hey, we granted this to you because of your hard work and the position you've put yourself in because of the hard work you put in to get to this point in your athletic career. They haven't evolved as far as this is concerned. Exactly. And the world has evolved because
the world has.
Tommy Smith and John Carlos have statues built to them now. Mm-hmm. They're revered.
So did he actually get his medal taken off of him?
I don't know that.
I know. I just assumed that they got their medals taken. But I don't know because I think it was more the hype, right?
Yeah, do I want to Google?
Thank God for Google.
Do I want to Google?
Otherwise you just, back in the day, boy, you just pick up the big encyclopedia. So after the race was complete, the three went to the podium for their medals to be presented. The two US athletes received their medals shoeless, but were wearing black socks to represent black poverty. Smith wore a black scarf around his neck to represent black pride. Carlos had a tracksuit top unzipped to show solidarity with the blue-collar workers in the US and wore a necklace of beads, which he described were for those individuals that were lynched or killed and that no one said a prayer for, that were hung and tarred, for those thrown off the side of boats in the Middle Passage. Whoa.
Tribute.
This is deep.
Yeah,
in America
it was real for them. Not only that, when it actually happened, they were getting booed. Like the stadium was booing them. The IOC asked for them to forfeit their medals and also to get out of the village. And if they didn't do that, then they're going to get rid of the whole US team. It would be crazy if they did something like that now.
We're going to ban your whole team if you don't get rid of these two guys. If
that was the case, if they're going to ban the whole team, you still do it? Everyone has to come together. Is everyone going to be okay with that? I don't know. But anyways, it says here in quotes, the untypical exhibitionism of these athletes violates the basic standards of good manners and sportsmanship, which are so highly valued in the United States. Such immature behavior is an isolated incident and a willful disregard of Olympic principles.
Your face right now. It's funny, these words that are coming out of their mouth.
Well, they demonize it.
Yeah.
And they make it to be something that it's not. Like we just said a second ago, it's a tribute. It's something that's really true to them. So then even after they got disciplined, they got continuous backlash, like death threats, people ripping them in the media. They called them black-skinned stormtroopers. Un-American activities. Tommy Smith got discharged from the army. Someone threw a rock through his window and it hit his baby's crib. And they received death threats for years. Because of this.
Because of this. The crazy thing about it is that we're in 2021. Kaepernick, like we were saying earlier, baseball and NFL, they're allowing these people to do this. And the IOC know this, but they want to uphold this under this survey that they surveyed. But they haven't said what the consequences are going to be if the athletes do protests in any way. Because, there's different things. They're like, you're not allowed to wear a Black Lives Matter t-shirt. I wonder if they'll be allowed to wear a scarf around their neck or black beads around their neck on the thing, or have their top unzipped with some sort of like show of, solidarity with their people. Are they going to...
Maybe people got to get clever with what they do.
Absolutely.
That are tributes.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, black earrings. Black nail polish.
Are you allowed to go up there with no shoes on? With black socks on?
No shoes and black socks.
I wonder if we
what
do
if you
a
just
tribute?
wear black gloves? Don't raise your hands. You're just wearing the black gloves.
Yeah. I wonder if the tribute should also be to show solidarity with Tommy Smith and John Carlos from back in the day. So that what they did, you take some of the things that they obviously went and did for the reasons that they did. And even though they did it for those reasons, if you fast forward now to where we are right now, we have things like police brutality. We have all the stuff that's going on in America, not treated the same in so many different ways. Although it's slightly different, people are not being lynched necessarily, but they're being shot dead by police. Maybe that's what you do, is a couple of the things that they did.
Would a Tommy Smith, John Carlos t-shirt be considered political paraphernalia?
Probably. I want a list. Because who's to say? That might be just my style. That's my vibe.
What about tattoos? Well, yeah, that could be a vibe. What about a tattoo?
They haven't even come up with what the punishments will be. Who knows? Maybe this time round they might say, we're going to take these people's medals.
There's something interesting that I was thinking about, though. If Rule 50 wasn't upheld in this capacity, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it would have as much impact if the athletes didn't protest, because it can't be a protest unless it's not allowed. And I'm not trying to tell athletes to get their medals taken away, because that wouldn't be easy for me as an athlete. After in the state of our lives now, we can look back on our careers and the experiences that some other people around us had and see that the medal doesn't mean as much as most people think. But being in that time of their lives and careers, it would be very difficult to just be like, well, I'm standing up for what I believe in. I don't need this medal. Forget it. It would be very, very difficult. Yeah. We're looking at it from a different lens right now, right?
Wow.
But the impact is a lot more intense when it is a protest, right? When the rule is put up against you and you have to overcome it, just like Tommy Smith did in 1968.
Yeah.
That's when there's the impact. Now, are athletes going to do it? I don't know. But I do know this. The USA has a lot of black people, especially in track and field, that are going to be on the podium. And they're the ones dealing with this issue the most. And to be honest, we've mentioned how black track and field is. Track and field might be the grounds for this. Yeah. This may be the sport that's going to be the one that's standing up.
To be honest, track and field is the pinnacle Olympic sport.
Yes.
Really.
Everyone knows it. Play around. Yes, it is at the Olympics.
It blatantly is. No disrespect, but it just is. The Olympic Stadium, where do you hold the ceremony, and which sport has the biggest stadium? I mean,
you're not going to the pool. Sorry.
No, which event out of the whole Olympics has the most viewership?
It's track and field.
Yeah, the men's 100-meter final. By far.
But track and field is a very black Olympic sport.
Considering how white the majority of the world is.
And most of the people in the world are going to be watching track and field at the Olympics. So track and field is going to be the melting pot for the majority of this stuff going on. And then you have majority American athletes on the podium, majority black people on the podium. And what people are seeing the most, these people are going to have these rules inhibiting what they can do. It doesn't matter about these other sports where people might be saying, oh, well, we don't want to have to deal with it, and we don't care if people can't protest or whatever. It doesn't matter. You're not going to be in the public eye anyways.
Equestrian.
Exactly.
Are those
people in the survey saying, no, we don't want people to
we need to get back to that survey in a minute. Wait. There was this survey, right? That they apparently did.
Survey. Imagine, where are these surveys coming from, yo?
I have no clue, but apparently independent people did it.
Right.
Yeah.
Whenever you want to make your point, just mention the survey.
Right.
And that becomes the gospel. That becomes what people base huge decisions off of.
But one thing I do want to put in there that I read, apparently athlete activists were not allowed to be involved in the survey.
What's an athlete activist?
An athlete activist. So Colin Kaepernick would be an athlete activist.
So who considers who's an athlete activist?
Well, if you speak, I don't know. But
so they're pointing out and picking and choosing who they feel is an athlete activist and not allowing them to participate in this survey.
Bias?
Misleading
survey. Okay, you know that those people are athlete activists because they speak out. But if you don't speak out and you're really, really a racist, you might have allowed a racist into your...
And your vote is protected.
Yeah.
And dictate the rule.
So what was it? So there was 3,500 odd athletes that were surveyed, right?
Mm-hmm.
From that survey, there's around about 70% of athletes apparently were against any protests during the Olympics on the podium in the kind of venue because they felt like it would distract from the Olympic Games and what it's about.
Okay. The survey is some nonsense. And for them to base upholding this rule on that is ridiculous. But they're making it a thing now. Like now it's a thing because you say you can't do it. So now it's like, okay, if someone does do it, now it's going to be bigger because of the fact that they said you can't do it. So them doing this actually works against them. They should have just been like, you know what? Let's just not even mention this. Let's just allow it. Let them do their thing. It's not going to be highlighted that much because it's not a protest at that stage, right? They've added a lot of complications. Because now athletes are going to have to actually go against this. And now you're going to actually cause divide within teams because some athletes are going to protest, are going to give their medals up. And some athletes aren't going to. And some athletes, and the athletes that don't want to, are going to come across like sellouts and come across like they don't have love for black people the same way. And also their moment is going
to be tarnished forever because they might want to but are too scared, and then they have to live with that and look at themselves in the mirror every single day thinking, should I have done it? Should I have not?
Exactly.
Did I make the right decision?
Exactly.
Because deep down in their heart they really want to.
Yes.
But they're really scared that they're going to lose the medal because they're going to be punished.
Yes. And then you've caused divide amongst the black people within the team, or how people will view these people who don't actually protest. You should be allowed to protest if you want to, and if you don't want to, you don't want to.
Right.
Now it's a thing. They've made it a thing. So whatever they were trying to work against, they actually made it bigger than it was originally. Can they physically take the medal away from you? Imagine if I get a gold medal, how are you going to take it away from me? Are you going to come and take it physically from me? I got to be some kind of medal fugitive. I got to be running away from you. How are you going to get it? I don't understand.
You're not going to get it off me.
If they can come and get it.
Let me tell you this right now.
If they can come and get it, is it actually your medal?
No, that medal's around my neck already, dude. How are you taking it off of me?
Exactly.
And everyone already saw that I won the gold medal.
Yes.
So you can take me out of the history books, whatever. Everyone already knows. I know, and I've got my medal. This is what I really want to know. Who is going to come and actually take the medal off me?
Who's going to take the medal?
Who is going to do it? No one ain't taking no medal off me that I killed myself.
How is that going to happen?
Who?
They may have to make more medals.
What, are they going to get security guard? I'm going to be like, no.
They can't.
They're going to fight. They'll have to fight me.
Yeah,
They will. Yeah. Let me tell you something. You know when you think about all the things you went through as an athlete, right? The pain, fractured this, broken that, lactic acid that you're spewing your guts up, right? The missed opportunities, the missed weddings and christenings that you didn't go to and birthday parties of your family, right? Some people didn't even get to go to funerals of their loved ones and they've got to make those tough choices. Births of family members or friends, being there for your friends and family during hard times. Why? Because you just are so into your sport that you've got to make these tough decisions. Not to mention the hours and hours of sacrifice. And you think you're going to take that medal from me. Listen, and that medal's I'm going to sleep with it on.
Yeah.
It's going to stay on my neck.
How would they get the medal? I'm confused. I mean, some people may hand it over voluntarily, which
Who would do that if after you've gone through that?
I'm just confused. How are you getting this medal off of me? How are you getting this medal off of said athletes? I don't understand.
I don't know. You know what would be crazy? If a white athlete did it.
Whoa.
What then? I would love
How would that be handled?
I don't know. What would I can't. But if any
I don't even know how that would play out.
Did that, they're definitely going down the history books.
I don't know if there's any white athletes who really feel this movement like that though. Like it would have to come from a real passionate place.
You know what I would say? I'm not saying she would do it, but the type of person it might be, right, is that, you know that Melissa Bishop chick? She's got a mixed race daughter. She's got a black husband, right? For her daughter. Are you nuts? As a mother, I'm 100% putting my hand up for my daughter. You must be mad. I want her to have equality. I don't want her to go through that. She's talked a little bit with you, right? Yeah. About how she's scared for her daughter because she doesn't know. She's never had to experience this. And now it's like she's really being opened up to this other world that is like crazy to her. You know, being white with blonde hair, blue eyes. Now she's got a mixed race daughter and she's got a black husband. Imagine blonde hair, blue eyes. Doing oh my God, that would be nuts.
Yo, Sha'Carri Richardson responded to the Black Lives Matter banning by the IOC. And she said in a tweet, "Let me make the team." And then in capitals, "I will represent my people."
Yeah, yes. See, that's what I'm like. Imagine if the winner of the women's 100 meters at the Olympics does the protest like Tommy Smith did. In this day and age, what are they going to do? Take her medal away. This would be
enormous.
An uproar.
The impact would be crazy. And I don't know how you accept a medal after she does that. But I just feel like people should do what they want to do.
No. Can you imagine Sha'Carri wins the Olympics and Elaine Thompson comes second? Sha'Carri on the medal rostrum puts up her hand. She gets her medal taken off her and then they try and give it to Elaine. And
then Elaine just accepts it?
She ain't never going to accept that.
What do you do after that? Do you go home to a parade after that?
With the gold?
What that medal symbolizes all of a sudden changes.
Everything.
And that's what, believe it or not, whether they meant to or not, the IOC has done now. What the medal represents has been totally changed. Yeah. Has been totally altered.
Oh, I've got to do my story.
Oh, your long story, not short.
Yes.
Mind you, there's a lot of good responses about your long story, not short last week, which definitely was not short.
Well, like I said,
it was a great story.
It's not about being a short story. But anyway, so this week on Long Story Not Short, I heard about this story actually when it happened in 2019. And I was like, what the? I couldn't believe it then, right? But I think it's come back up again recently, and she competed this weekend at the Continental Tour at Mount Sac. Gwen Berry, she won the hammer. She's a hammer thrower. I think she's ranked the 5th furthest hammer thrower in the history. So in 2019, went to the Pan Am Games, very similar to the Commonwealth Games, but yeah, Pan American Games. And she threw 74 meters and she won the gold medal. Now, I love Gwen. She seems very flamboyant. She's like right on my street. She's wearing like bright neon blue lipstick. She's very flamboyant. I love it. So she wins the gold medal. And when she was on the podium, she just said that she just had this feeling like she was listening to the national anthem and it just didn't represent her experience. So she put her fist up, kind of like Tommy Smith. After that, she was punished by the US Olympic Committee and Paralympic Committee and banned from doing any type of protest for 12 months. First of all, she's not at the Olympics. She's at the Pan American Games. So how the hell are they banning her from? And it's so funny because it makes sense, right? It's 2019. This is before the whole COVID, the whole Black Lives Matter thing. They know in their mind at the time, the Olympics is the next year. So they need to get on this quick. Like she's going to do this at the Olympics. We're going to put a message out there. We're going to send a message that if you do this as athletes, you're going to get punished. So she gets punished. She's like the kind of poster child now for what, punishments that the Olympics are going to put on any athletes that try even to go there with any type of protest. I just saw this little bit of an article on it, and it was saying, Berry has fought to get to where she is today. She was raised by her grandmother in a household of 13 in Ferguson, Missouri. After having a son at 15, she earned a college scholarship and became a top hammer thrower. While training to qualify for the Olympics in 2016, she held down 2 jobs, working at Dick's Sporting Goods during the day and delivering insomnia cookies at night, and helped support 10 extended family members back home. So this is the type of story that the IOC loves, how an athlete will overcome all of this. But the reason why she's probably in this situation, bearing in mind, she's not a bum. Enough people in the world love to say, well, they have options. They can get off their butt and they can go and find a job, or they can. Well, this is clearly not someone who is against working. She's an Olympian and she has to hold down 2 jobs and she has to. So the experience for her and many other Black people, athletes, everyday people, this is their experience living in America. Do you know what I mean? And I'm sure she's got many other stories that she could tell that makes her feel so passionate about wanting to do that and make that stance, on the podium. I don't see why the IOC, if they were in solidarity with the athletes, wouldn't be okay with that. When she listened to the national anthem, it was like talking about freedom, justice, liberty. And she's like, that ain't my experience. That's not what I feel like I'm living. And so I'm going to make show us a sign that I don't feel like this is what I represent. It represents my life as a Black person. And I know for a lot of other Black people. So she protests, she gets banned. Now she is going off. I really want this girl to go and do her thing at Tokyo because she's got like all these different people wearing athlete activist shirts. So the shirt on it is a black shirt with white writing athlete activist. And she's now like the spokesperson for it. So I know for a fact if she goes and wins a medal, she's absolutely going to be protesting because she realized this is bigger than just that, right? What I don't love about it is that after this happened to her and she got banned and she got punished, she never got any grants from USATF. She didn't get any, she lost sponsorship. She's got no sponsorship.
Oh, they banished her basically.
She got banished into exile. She's exiled.
Wow.
So she said she thinks she lost around about $50,000 worth of sponsorships and stuff because of this. Now she's actually sponsored by an organization called Color of Change, which is like quite a big organization, you know, that I think they're the ones that made the t-shirts, athlete activists, and they do posters but they're obviously all about civil rights and speaking out and being able to protest quite peacefully. They had her back, but I can't believe that she actually got banned for doing that protest. And as a result, she lost so much money and she hasn't got that much.
So she walked the route already. She's not scared to do it again.
No, because I think now she realizes that actually this is more important than the medal. Doesn't take away from what an amazing athlete she is. They can't take away distances from her. And any athlete that does protest and their medal gets taken away and then the silver place athlete gets put into...
Imagine getting that medal.
That is the worst.
Imagine being the silver medalist and getting the gold.
Because someone
protested and stood up for what they believed in. And you got the default medal by that. It's different if you get the medal because someone cheated or someone took drugs.
Course.
Right? But if you get the medal because someone stood up for what they believed in... What? Whoa. Why would you even want that medal?
Whoa.
I'm not wearing that medal around. I'm not advertising myself as a gold medalist.
I'd give that medal. If I was the silver place medalist, I'd speak to the bronze place medalist in the fourth place. The only problem is the fourth place might not want to get... Yeah. But otherwise, you just say, you know what? And that would be an amazing protest. That would be amazing stand up against this shit and be like, I'm giving the gold medal rightfully to its owner.
Right.
I did not win this gold medal.
Right.
So it needs to go to the rightful owner. There you go.
That might be a compromise because, the IOC can have their hands off. They did what they were supposed to do.
If athletes all come together and support each other, it's just that fourth place. You know, that's the worst place to come.
Yeah, but why would you want that medal?
I know I wouldn't. I 100% wouldn't want that medal.
No.
And I've come fourth before. And if I would have got bumped up to bronze for that reason, I'm 100% giving that medal back to the bronze medalist. I'm involved. I'd be involved.
I remember in 2008, Wallace Spearman stepped on the line in the 200 meters and he got the bronze medal, but he stepped on the line. So they took it away and Sean Crawford ended up getting that medal, but he knew he didn't really win the medal. So he ended up giving him the medal. He was like, yeah, I'm going to take the medal, man. Yeah, it's right. Noah Lyles in Monaco in 2020. I remember he wore a black glove and raised it before the race. Before his 200 meter race. I forgot about that kind of... People didn't make a huge deal out of it back then. But, on the Olympic stage, on a podium, it's a little bit different.
But also, like you said, the IOC have shot themselves in the foot. By banning, it's going to be seen as resistance, when actually it didn't need to be resistance. It just needed to be a show of solidarity with their own people and for everything that black people are going through. And I don't understand why that isn't allowed. I don't understand. It's not a political statement unless you want it to be.
Well, they made it that now.
They've made it that. It's actually not a political statement. It's actually real life for black people. If you want to call it political, that's on you. And it's white people calling it political.
Right.
It's not actually political to me. It's actually like Manamans are not on the same level in the US. You know, black people are not being treated the same. And that's what this whole entire, last year has been about. And now it's been named Black Lives Matter. But actually, it's about black lives, people's actual lives they're living day to day. And like we said about...
That matter.
The way people are being treated is not the same. And we know this happens. So as far as I'm concerned, this is their lives. And if athletes want to go up there and represent and show the world that they're standing together, why is that a problem? It's solidarity with their people.
It's a pretty cool image of Noah, actually, before the race in Monaco. This wasn't really blown up and he got to make his tribute. And that was that.
That was it.
It's good for him. It's good for those who noticed, those who recognized. We keep it moving.
Why can't the media say, like with Noah Lyles when he did this, or if an athlete does something at the Olympics, showing a lovely tribute for their people and for the struggle that Black people are still continuing to go through. And then keep it moving.
Right.
Why can't they just say something like that?
Or just say Noah Lyles, lane 7.
Right. No, but what I'm saying is but what I'm saying is that could also be like, let's say, for instance, Nia Ali, the 100-meter hurdler, yeah. When she had her baby and then won the world championships, and she also, when she had her first baby, she won the world indoors. She went and got her baby, and it was a symbol to say, what? Mm-hmm. I'm a mum, and look, I'm smashing people in the face. I'm still the best in the world. Because there's this idea that women, when you have a baby, everything stops and you can't do what you want to do in life, right? That was a massive symbol of what you can do as a woman. You can come back and still be a world beater.
Inspirational to moms as well.
What did the commentators say? Wow, Nia Ali, picks her baby up, had the baby a year ago, and look, now winning the world championship. This is an amazing sight to see. To me, why can't it just be the commentators say, Noah Lyles raising his fist, showing, some solidarity to Tommy Smith, who did the same in 1968 on the top of the rostrum. What a lovely image. And then let the things carry on.
Right.
Why can't you just say that and then keep it moving? Right. That would be inclusive. That would make Black people feel included and also seen, without it being a political thing. It's just human to human, for goodness sake,
and
honestly.
Appreciated, because like we mentioned, the feats that they're pulling off at these Olympics are making the Olympics the Olympics.
They really are.
So can they get a little recognition, a little bit of understanding that, we rate you? Who you are, you.
Yeah. We rate you, not you as the athlete.
We support you.
You know what? It's funny. Athletes are human beings. They're not just sports people.
Right.
You can't separate those two things. And this is the thing that really pisses me off sometimes about how track and field goes about highlighting athletes. They only want to talk about their performance only, like they're robots. They're actually human beings that go through masses of things to get to that place where they're standing on the top of that rostrum. And that needs to be taken into consideration. And if another athlete decides they don't want to do that, fine. If you don't feel like you've got something that you want to share in your moment, fine. But if you do, you should be shown the respect that everything you've been through as a human being first, and then as an athlete second, is given the respect it deserves.
Thanks for tuning in to the Unconventional Voices of Track and Field podcast. Like, follow, and join the conversation at Voices of TNF, as well as subscribe to the show across all podcast platforms.